weeks in a row trying to escape, in that everything KT did was on kind of a health timer, was on a timer because they couldn't just make any first rotation. They were always second to everything. They didn't control anything. This game, they should be able to take grasp of somewhere, so level 1 and be kind of the proverbial Olaf in the matchup and try to really be aggressive about early game. Do you just play around the fact that any counter ganks will be low health? Does Sylas go for a gimmick level 2 all-in gank because the jungle's a little bit harder? These are the what-ifs, because it's the early phase for Sylas. It's been the most targeted. As the game goes on, it'll all fall into place.
Yeah, and if he has lanes around him that are pushing forward, then it means that that aggressive Sejuani is going to be more of a pipe dream rather than anything else. So let's see whether Griffin can navigate it, whether these lanes will work out as well as they did in game number 1 as we get into game 2. And here we are, game number 2. Chovy is going to be stalwart on his skin choice, remaining the Husky Corgi.
He will also be moving over to the Electrocute to try to beef up some of the 1v1 trades, utility pick of the Phase Rush that actually doesn't do anything against a Corki. I guess maybe the package special delivery slow, but apart from that, not going to get too much value there, but just generally means that you catch up or escape as needed.
Yep, I think escaping is generally a good thing here as BDD thinking about throwing out some Qs.
Kingen has picked for lanes, so they do have at least the on-hit cannon trying to auto-attack Doran to death, and there's no disarm on the Aurelia ult anymore, so should be a pretty happy health matchup outside of situational all-ins. Do notice that it's the... Oh, and actually gets a double binding there.
It's really nice. Threaded the needle on that one
Where does Snowflower's health bar go? He doesn't have great health, so he just takes all of that damage.
Well, he face-checked and then warded.
That did happen.
Wait, no, it was Prey that warded. Never mind. Snowflower held onto his. That's why he was. It looked like he face-check warded.
One of the few things I really dislike in drafts these days is the Sejuani with kind of a ranged matchup. So Sejuani going mid lane is only going to be ult. That's a lot of damage there.
Yeah, Prey getting the last hit. Press the attack working out here for Viper.
With Aurelia, let's see if Tarzan can actually get something on, because even blowing Kingen's flash will allow Doran to actually probably go mostly CS for CS in the lane.
Well, Kingen should be able to just get those autos in, get this lane shoving, and finally we've got some priority in the early game. Lahen's going to sweep a little bit late, but is still going to be able to get rid of that ward, and KT are going to lose all pressure on that bottom side of the map.
Yeah, I wasn't focused on it early, but we should have mentioned that in the Ezreal Tahm Kench versus Lucian Lux matchup, Tahm Kench's weak level 1 is what you desperately want to prey on. That's why Snowflower walking up was pretty wanton aggression into a forward brush when they didn't have any intel on where double ranged bullet hell lane Lucian and Lux was. And there will still be some inroads maybe later to try to play aggressive, like we've seen from Deft in particular in Ezreal Tahm. Ezreal Tahm doesn't always have to be hang back and farm, but when you vacate level 1 and kind of lose all of your sustain for no discernible gain, it does make it harder for Prey and Snowflower to actually find a sniff. Maybe you need a good back timing to actually try to take the lane ascendancy at all.
Well, BDD trying to get that overflow damage onto Chovy. Not able to get it, but is able to get this wave shove, and that's exactly what has been changed about Ryze moving into 9-13. And again, going back to the bottom lane like you were talking about, I mean, this is Deft's aggressive kill lane. He chooses Ezreal Tahm Kench when he wants to hard smash someone in lane.
And everyone's playing Tahm Kench, and I feel like we've seen this at MSI with Core JJ in the final. We've seen so many times. Tahm Kench sucks at level 1 in the 2v2. He only has a Q. He doesn't have Devour as well, or he has Devour and no lane presence. You need to play around that. Did not see that from Snowflower, so Justy takes the inroads. So we talked about those top lane ganks.
Yeah, Kingen able to move himself completely underneath this turret, and I don't believe he had vision.
No. Nice lane positioning there.
Really nicely done, and he was playing defensively at exactly the right time.
It's the I'm ganking after taking top scuttle time. His jungler's on bot side scuttle, so percentage chance of the enemy jungler being on top side was basically 100%, whether he's ganking or not, playing respectful for it. That's good to see from Kingen, who of course is the newer face in the jungle from the KT side, having the top laner sense that it's necessary to not just give up your flash and lose lane presence as on-hit can.
And look at what it's given KT as well. Look at all of this vision on the bottom side of the map. This will open up some doors for KT to try and get some onus back on the bottom side, which is where they were struggling the most. So you can already see that Prey has turned around this matchup pretty nicely, especially now that they have reached that level 4 mark as well in the wave. Heading back, Score, full health, and actually ahead.
Oh, he's
by a little bit. Yeah, okay. Might have to flash to get out of the way this one, and does so very, very quickly. Tarzan moves on in. Score was punished very effectively.
But that moment there is the best Griffin moment I've seen in a long time. Because what did we just see on our screens? Around Arise back timing, Chovy puts down an aggressive ward on the enemy Raptors, and Chovy and Tarzan, the combo that got Griffin so much success in spring, come in same time on the same wavelength and get something out of KT. That is what Griffin fans have been searching for a very long time, in summer especially, and that's the sort of play they need to recreate if they are to rise back up the rankings and challenge in summer.
And they've also got to start playing more aggressively this game as well. Infernal Drake is going to be the first one. It is on the Rift, and 6 minutes in. Common timing for that Drake to be at least considered, as Snowflower is just going to get a little bit greedy.
Whoa!
And he's spitting this guy real far.
I feel bad for the
wait for the journey.
Those
wait
little
for the
Krugs
journey.
have never been there. Let's watch them walk back.
Oh, we have to.
Oh, they
thank
changed
goodness.
minds.
Thanks, observers. Thanks, observers. They decided that that was the wrong way to go.
We just
Let
learned.
them. It's like Milo and Otis. So we're like watching Milo and Otis right now.
We just learned that the little Krugs can swim, Atlas. They can swim.
They can.
We couldn't have known that. Aww.
And my Pokemon knowledge says that, you know, rocks are supposed to be...
They're dead.
Oh, what the heck?
That's how it goes. That's the counter jungling change from a while ago, but it was definitely shown. The life of a Krug.
But they made it all the way back. Oh, man.
They found their way home. Their home was death, apparently.
I guess so. It's like sadder than the animals of Farthing Wood. Do you remember that show?
Hey, I've referenced that show on Cast before. You've watched it, right?
Oh, yeah. It's the most depressing show ever.
That show scars young people.
It
does.
does.
That show is brutal.
That taught me
It's about cute
loss.
animals in a forest, you know, at threat of deforestation.
Yeah.
But so many of the animals die.
Yeah, I think it built a lot of us into, like, environmentalists, because we're like, this is disgusting.
To be fair, it feels like our power hour after work, or after school, sorry, was Captain Planet into the animals of Farthing Wood, almost as if they were being like, yeah, deforestation, the environment, try to fix that.
I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. I think that keeping the planet alive is probably a good idea.
I'm down. KT want to keep their season alive, and nothing's happened in the game so far to change things, but no 2 QSS gold lead. Like
Yeah, look at this. 100 gold instead of 2,000 gold.
That's way better from a KT perspective.
Yeah. Even I can do that analysis, you know. 100, better to be down that much than 2,000. There we go. We can all be analysts, guys. We've just got to take it one step at a time. BDD will make his way back underneath his turret as well. And Score, he knows the problems of these chickens, and he's going to move out of the way quickly enough. Lehens has to use heal on the bottom side of the map, as KT able to answer some of the aggression pushed forward by Griffin.
Gotta say, though, it is still... whoa, that was an interesting visual bug. It is still pretty comfortable little CS inroads for all lanes. On the side of Griffin, definitely the level 1 didn't help KT in the bot lane there. Rise just kind of stabilize, and of course, the moment that Score has to flash in vision of the enemy, it's going to be very difficult to take 2 aggressive trades. So BDD is the flow-on effect there, down about a minion wave and a half. Top lane has been playing respectful as well, so just getting that 1 flash has had such noticeable inroads on the CSing. And speaking of inroads, BDD is on an adventure.
Yep, Runwop is going to be utilized the flash to immediately follow, gets himself the stun, and you can throw out as many Vanguard's edges as you want. You are dead, my friend. First blood goes to KT.
And Rise having the ability to push early does mean he can roam, and the push and roam is good from KT Rolster. They should get a turret plate from this as well, as Kingan's going to be able to stick around. Nice moment from KT Rolster, answering that flash blown early.
Exactly. It's really nice. In fact, both teams showing us improvements from game number 1. As Griffin making that play to get that flash initially, and then KT being able to proactively take down Doran. It's not over just yet. Lead is now there for KT, though, for the first time, what feels like this whole series.
Cannon makes a on-hit cannon play that even his big brother's men would be all about. They rush in. He understands that he has enough allies and damage that as long as the stun registers, they'll pick up the kill. What happened bot lane? We missed this. Is that Ezreal comes in very aggressively.
Lehens took a few turret shots, I guess. Maybe that's what it was. Oh,
there was a shield nerf. You couldn't notice it from the replay.
No. That felt like it was more about Prey pressing a teleport button on the wrong thing.
I actually like the way they nerfed the shield. So previously, in case you guys are wondering, the shield had been buffed so many times over time. But one of the latest buffs was, as long as you're hit by the returning shield, it's almost like you got hit by both sides. It was always a double. Didn't make it a triple, but it just meant that you were guaranteed the double shield towards the end. And I guess if you had already sustained damage through the first shield, you get the double again. But all I'm trying to say is now you actually have to hit both sides in order.
Oh no, speaking of hitting things.
Yeah. Okay, that happened.
That, Viper didn't need to hit him with that one. That's targeted. That's an auto attack.
I wonder why he was low. I'm going to guess it was a Lux bucket.
Potentially. Might get a replay of that one as Chovy takes a lot of damage, but he's able to answer there. Of course, BDD without the shields anymore. Feeling pretty sad in this matchup.
Score has to come down. He was looking for a catch in the mid lane, so you have to wonder why Prey was so far up with Flash on cooldown.
Of course, he is an Ezreal. Does have Arcane Shift, but it just wasn't enough to help him out there. 11 minutes into this game, Shelly an option, Tarzan on the top side of the map as well. Chovy's going to be there with a little bit of consistent damage availability. I
mean, he can show presence top side and not worry about his bot side getting in trouble, right? Because they just got a 2v2 kill. Lehens took over the brush. That's what happens with a Lux. And you know what? She had everything.
Yeah, pressed her buttons, and Prey died.
Well, that was actually very poor from Prey. You just have to give up those minion waves. Yes, you're Ezreal with 1,000 range, but Lux is one of those champions that keeps you accountable. It's still a 2-second snare. Goodbye to Prey, and goodbye to the Rift Herald. Griffin going to use their priority to roam Lehens top side, and they don't have too many cares in the world.
Nope. I guess the one thing that we can be happy about for KT is that they had a gold lead for a very small amount of time at around 8 minutes.
Hanging around topside. Tarzan aware of this, though.
Yeah, it does want to put down Shelly at some point. As Dora moving past this minion wave could be a little bit dangerous.
Overall in this play, because Griffin had roamed Lehens topside, some turret plates might go down bot side. Infernal's spawning, but that's a KT-controlled jungle. Doran walks up.
Yeah, they're going to be able to find it. That's another snare. A lot of damage now onto Doran, who once again throws out the ultimate, but it's answered by Score, who stole his. And his looks to be better. Doran dead once again.
Trying to play the percentages was Doran. There's so many control wards in the red side jungle that would have assumed there was a play happening. Bot side, not to be. And the long stay in the top side does pay inroads for KT. Definitely some camping trips happening, but if Kingen gets going and can start auto-attacking down in Aurelia, that means the 4-1 potential, and maybe even 1-3-1 potential from KT will be pretty high. And Silas does do one thing as the game goes on. Still has catch potential with the E.
And also does have the availability of a Glacial Prison, which is a large reason why Silas made his way into the jungle anyway, was to answer this Sejuani. Going to be a different story, but if they meet one-on-one, I mean, that shield is still good against the Sedge. Does a lot of magic damage. And BDD, as this game goes on as well, is going to be able to clear out these minion waves so incredibly quickly.
I don't want to see Aurelia versus Silas in a lane matchup. One has a physical damage shield, the other one has a magic damage shield. Both of them pretty...
And then Camille comes up and says, I don't care about either of you. Haha, she's just a better version.
When it comes when it comes to shooting types, you can definitely agree on that point. Tarzan finally clearing out one of the controllers. There's still another.
Yeah, is that Nigel? Secret Agent Nigel in the enemy jungle?
I don't remember giving him a name, but...
Oh, I gave him one then.
Oh, fair enough.
I mean, Nigel's been in one of our games before, and he was just my favorite. Of the wards is Tarzan, not going to be interrupted there as he throws Shelly into the mid lane. She might be able to get some turret plates as Score picks himself up some rockets.
That's why Score was hanging around mid lane, wanted to be aware for the potential interrupt on one of these dives. They have to share it, so Tarzan and Chovy pick up 50-50.
But the fact that she managed to get any at all is pretty impressive as the plates fall down in 1 second. There they go. So good timing there from Griffin just to maximize the amount of money made.
They have a lot of time to roam Lehens up. 30 CS advantage.
Yeah.
In the matchup against Ezreal, even Klepto isn't going to make any inroads on that. And we still haven't seen the full bullet hell yet. Atlas, that's what we call that combination of the Yuumi and the Lucian. In this case, we're just getting Lux and Lucian. It's just burst, but it definitely can take your breath away and your life away as well.
Do we get the piercing light and the light binding at the same time? So you get piercingly bound, which is just not what you want. That's, I think, the combination that you're looking for there, Pubsmith.
Fair enough. I'll defer to you on that one.
When it comes to verberizing ability names,
it's true.
That is certainly one thing that I can do. Is Chovy backed at precisely the right time?
You are the man who made piercingly lit a thing.
Yeah. I mean, if you get hit by a piercing light, Pubsmithy, what else happens to you?
But how lit are you if you're 4 kills, 2 deaths, 0 assists when you make that piercing light?
Well, I don't know. It's all context sensitive. We'll have to see for when it happens next. We'll be keeping our eyes on Viper as to evaluate his lit levels.
Well, they're definitely ignited because they picked up this Infernal Drake, which is a nice pickup with how much damage Viper already has.
Yep, Litism intensifies, Pubsmithy. So Lehens has himself a big old shield.
Or trying to make it, at least the big difference you notice here is that when Griffin are actually committing resources to a lane, the cross-map plays are actually being invested into by KT that were impossible with no priority lanes in game number 1. So at least this is better looks for the side of KT. Griffin is still deciding the first place to go. KT still responding and shutting down door.
Well, at least KT this time can respond. Felt like in the last game, there were just no options at all. A Valkyrie is going to get Chovy out of danger here as KT are transitioning towards the mid lane. Realm Warp plus the Abyssal Voyage means that these cross-map plays are going to be very comfortable as this mid-game draws on. So we'll see whether KT can actually make anything out of it, but that's why this gold lead has not extended for Griffin. It's because KT have had areas where they can answer the pressure that Griffin have bottom side.
But you can actually look at the minimap and see what the difference is between how these plays, because you might just say, okay, well, Griffin went bot lane first and got a turret. KT went top lane as a response. Griffin got the first turret. What does it mean? Notice that because Griffin started the play and KT were reacting, more vision was left on the map. Only now is Tahm Kench deleting the control wards that Griffin had. So Griffin were able to place down vision, back away. Now that vision has been taken down, but it's the vision you leave behind that usually you have to evaluate these players on. When it comes to vision, this vision mission is for Griffin.
Yep, Lehens is just going to be escorted there by Chovy. Have to utilize a Lucent Singularity at all in order to get that vision over there comfortably, because the Corgi escort squad, certainly a powerful one.
And count your power spikes. I see 2 Triforces, and I feel pretty good about where Griffin is in the game right now. Items still being built by KT. Remained waiting to be seen what is built with the Catalyst that BDD has.
Rod of Ages is certainly extraordinarily gold efficient at the moment.
Abyssal Mask is pretty god tier against the enemy comp in terms of amplifying the damage of even the cannon base damage, but Sylas and Ezreal damage as well. Also, the Rod of Ages would be kind of the 24-minute Rod of Ages, so I don't know if this game is going to realistically scale that far, but there's arguments for both, and that's why I'm wondering which way BDD goes.
And also, Ryze has changed so much as well. I mean, are you going to be building him pseudo-tank? Like, do you want to just build a lot of damage and hope people die?
My impression is that he does a lot of damage, but he's inarguably more squishy. So I actually prefer more tank stats, kind of Doinby build from before style. So I think the Abyssal Mask might be the protocol. A lot of map plays happening. Griffin, though, taking over red side jungle as KT enters bot side. See what the difference is here.
King going to move up top side, but he will have 4 members of Griffin closing in. Can KT actually get anything working out? The answer is going to be yes. Bottom outer turret does fall, and Doran lying in wait.
More vision here for Griffin defensively. It means that they can push up, take down an inner turret, but Ryze feels like it's too risky and has no teleport to respond. So teleport being down for BDD means that Griffin will always smash and grab more than is available to KT. Hey, the new change.
Yeah, so Snowflower is going to be able to eat a red buff this time. I hope he takes it. No, he doesn't. He took a blue buff last game. That was certainly good.
They had to smite it because the patience was about to run out on that buff.
If you get eaten, I mean, I'd lose some patience as well.
I've lost my patience for Tahm Kench years ago, and yet it's still in the meta.
That's a good point. Well, Prey going to take a lot of damage from that big one that Chovy just threw his way. See where the Prey can turn around this game. Already, doesn't have his 2 items completed by 19. That's a real feels bad.
Two-item Ezreal is a famous thing because the power level for how much you spend, your damage per gold percentage, which is a stat that LCK has been leveraging a lot during our pre-matches this season, is very high. However, reality is that Viper will have two items at almost exactly the same time, and his two items are way more expensive. So
exactly.
Viper does have to deal with things like close-range CC threats, but if you can sidestep the Abscond, Abduct, and also the Rise in those team fights, the amount of damage this Essence Reaver, Blade the Ruin King, Lucian's going to be putting out is pretty out of order.
Yeah, it's going to be extraordinarily high, especially once that Infinity Edge comes in as item number 3, popularized, of course, by Def. He did like building the Essence Reaver as soon as it got buffed. He just likes Essence Reavers. Does the old Def.
Team comp, there's so much overlap here in terms of what these teams are going to be wanting to do come the late game. Both of them have decent dive into the back line. Neither of them are fully comped that way, but front-to-back team fighting will be pretty intriguing to watch. Griffin gets first access to everything, same as game number 1, because of their play in unlocking bot lane. The bot difference is why KT have largely been responding. But it feels like we're one smart map play away from knowing who really has the kind of big lead in this game, because the gold lead is very slender.
Yeah. Liability is, of course, Prey at the moment. Hate to say it, but down 40 CS, struggling to find farm at range in the mid lane as Rod of Ages does come in. For BDD, he's done the calculations, wants to turn his money into damage.
I think if Ezreal has his items on time, Rise gets a little bit more room to go for Rod of Ages scaling, but this is another power trough. Yes, Rod of Ages is more gold efficient than it's ever been this early in the game. It was buffed a few patches ago, but the reality is that even though it's close to 100% or around 100%, other items give you more. And it takes those minutes to get Rod of Ages online. So it's another thing that we have to remember here is this may not be a huge power trough, but KT can't afford to wait a while unless Griffin continue to meander like they did in game number 1.
Yeah, will we even see that Rod of Ages at maximum stacks? It'll involve this game getting beyond that 30-minute mark. And
based on game number 1, probably. But are you teaching yourself bad habits for other teams that might be able to really attack you, like Kingzone Dragon X and Damwon Gaming?
Well, Griffin now have the tools in order to extend this lead. Right now, that lead is barely anything to talk about, 500 gold. Largely to do with KT's top side of the map, playing out very, very well. Not to mention BDD being strong on the rise at the moment. In fact, has a gold bounty built up, just based on the fact that both of these mid laners have been farming so well.
Cool lane assignments here. Viper is strong enough that they're putting him as one of the ones. This is actually something that I imagine Griffin picked up from watching a lot of Perks' games, where he does get side lane farm, whether he's playing a mage, awesome dude, or an AD carry. You think back to his awesome Xayah hard carry performance in the first week of LEC Summer. We don't see this lane configuration in the LCK almost ever. The most famous player to do this is Uzi. Through multiple metas, was always given solo experience in a top lane while the game slowed down. But that does mean that Griffin is making some adjustments to get Viper a bit more in the side lane, and right now that manifests not in a level lead, but if they return to it, can potentially be a level lead for the side of Griffin.
Viper just seems to be getting priority when it comes to getting any money at all on this map. Nice avoidance there on the Ardent Blaze. As Snowflower and Prey just going to be manning the mid lane, try and defend.
So what do you think happens this game if it continues at the pace it's at? Like, what do you see coming forward? Because I think we're both going to have slightly different versions of the future.
Well, I see it being all about who's going to win in the 4-1 side lane play between Doran and King. So I think if King continues to have the priority, then KT should, in theory, be able to hold on with Prey just clearing out minions and poking.
And we were complimentary of Kingen seeing that 4-minute top lane gank and being able to read that. So I would say map awareness with more pro games probably goes to Kingen, right? Doran was brought in to play the lane compared to Sword, who was very much about playing the map as a top laner. He wasn't a 1v1 threat.
2-level advantage here as well for the Kenny, so not doing too badly whatsoever. Looking for another Mark of the Storm as Tarzan moves over. And his vision is available.
That's a pretty fair read. Looking for top side controls. Okay.
Yep,
Hand's going to have to flash.
So good trade there for KT. Score didn't invest his flash into the situation as Snowflower does have himself a teleport as he goes back to base.
In the day, the Hens will find it much harder than Tahm Kench to face check and walk up and be able to contest Baron visions. That's why having Ryze push as aggressively as we can see, even without the most deep vision, gives KT the leash to look for those picks, to even pick a enchanter support that has a lot of range check, like the Lux, who still has E and R in order to spot brush. So nice little understanding of where they're strong from KT. They push forward here. Not seen Tarzan and Chovy combo since way back when around those early Raptors.
Yep, now Tarzan's going to move up, immediately clears out vision. Just want to sweep all those options away from KT when it comes to controlling this Baron pit. Griffin with a couple of great Drakes for taking down a Baron, and a Mountain's going to be coming up in 15 seconds as BDD gets himself into the Realm Warp and gets himself comfortably out after dodging Tarzan's ultimate. True Shot Barrage over 2, double Cullings coming in. Their score is going to tank up the ultimate from Doran. King and trying to CC them up, but it's the 2 kills already for Griffin, and Doran goes into his stopwatch to stop himself from dying. Score not going to be so lucky, as now the mid lane outer turret will suffer the same fate after 3 for 0 going in favor of Griffin.
Feels like the pivotal play of the game. Doran gets backline access, meanwhile King can only respond, and look how much immediate gold is injected to the coffers of Griffin.
And BDD so beautifully made it out of that play, but then KT got a little bit greedy and decided to go for a fight afterwards, and that cost them the inhibitor.
They're going to go for the win.
Yeah, BDD once again is going to just get jumped on and taken down. The amount of damage here from Griffin is gigantic. Inhibitor falls, and all of a sudden, instantly, we have a game with a lead for Griffin.
And just like our headset users at home who have been listening to us slowly ASMR, a very quiet first 25 minutes, this is the turning point of the game. And BDD, to his credit, outplays Tarzan, gets out, and you're like, okay, BDD, nice job. But it's never just that. It never happens in a vacuum. And you'll notice that Doran is ahead of this play. Is topside, gets backline access, and it's what shakes out of the only meaningful map play is that Griffin get map access. They get to just play front to back. Meanwhile, KT is all at sea because BDD is out of the play very early.
And it really felt like they were out of sync as well. Out at sea and out of sync here for
because they're in the
KT.
low state. They're not expecting there to be that level of aggression. So credit to Griffin for taking advantage of a scenario and not just losing confidence when the Glacial Prison went wide.
And it was opportunistic play rather than a premeditated play, which is what we've seen from Griffin almost every single time to a fault. So seeing something on the map, seeing an opportunity and jumping on it, it's great to see.
Because you think about, if Doran's in position, what's the response? Like, oh no, cannon flank. But remember, it's a side lane cannon build. Ragebait Blade the Ruined King wants to whack away at a minion wave, build up the rage, and then kill people. And now side lane, Cannon's going to find multiple baddies.
Yep, Slicing Maelstrom. The flash is going to come in. Permafrost, though, and there is a very dead Kenny as BDD. Realm Warp has to be utilized once again, but they immediately about face. And now BDD doesn't have the tankiness that he'd otherwise have, and a double kill goes over to Viper. KT have fallen apart.
That's the only way to put it. The communications when Griffin turns on the aggression that we've been demanding all series are just falling away for KT. They're being found out in moments where Griffin can get the maximum. And if they get Baron here, it might be enough to just close the game on their next push.
Yep, and the Mountain Drake did go over to KT amidst all of the hullabaloo from before. But it's only going to be a very small thing. Position on this Baron is going to be there. Lehens playing goalkeeper. And KT looking like they're not even going to try and take it down, as a little bit late on the final spark. And Griffin now have a Baron, and KT don't even have a mid lane inhibitor.
Shout out to Observers for showing that. It could have been used earlier to check the health bar, but he was so safe that it was just either I steal it or I don't.
Yep.
And accepted that he wasn't going to. We'll watch the replay to see this one. If we had Pro View, it'd be good to see whether they had eyes on the teleport that came through, because we had a great vision play that happened earlier in the LEC that showed us that was different. They expected it. They saw him, and BDD with no flash was always going into the death chamber. The death timers, as long as they are at this point in the game, it meant the Baron play was oh so easy. And you were asking how competitive the game would be when the Rod of Ages was done. The answer is looking like it might be knocking on a 2-0 victory for the side of Griffin.
Certainly be a roughie here for KT. And it just feels like KT have been holding on to a ledge for for this entire series, trying to keep themselves in it while Griffin are just comfortably sitting on their balcony. And KT, their hands are starting to slip. It's really starting to feel like everything's falling through the cracks. There's this fragility that's really been the problem for KT. They've had small moments, but the consistency has just not been there.
Because if our analysis on Griffin didn't do enough in game number 1, arguably could have done more in the early parts of game number 2. The answer for KT was they couldn't really do anything in game number 1, and they've had some decent map plays here. But we were both thinking, yeah, they do have some tools if they could use them well. Decided that hasn't happened, and BDD taking so much damage.
And even Prey hit by the final spark there as Viper underneath the turret. Snowflower has to eat the Grey health. More dancing forward from Viper, and he's able to take down the Tahm Kench. They're going to give up taking this inhibitor turret because they just want to win the game. Griffin, so much damage available, and now no Tahm Kench to save anyone's life. First Nexus turret falls. Griffin not wanting to go overly aggressive as the minion wave is going to run out, and they have an inhibitor they can take on the bottom side. Still throwing out poke after poke. Griffin Viper diving forward. BDD below half. Kingin just getting poked by all of these spells flying forward. The rockets from Chovy are so dangerous. Another minion wave and a true shot barrage that has been dodged. A dead Nexus turret. Final spark is landed as Prey hit once again by one of these ultimates. Vanguard's Edge comes forward as Doran is going to try and take on King, and he's not going to be able to get the work done, but he was just buying time as the Nexus falls down. A 2-0 from Griffin as they try and turn around the second round robin.
No big smiles, but a 2-0 they needed to end their longest match-losing streak since they joined the LCK. It wasn't panic stations. There was no 1-5. This was just a zip lane.
He really should have some of our most spicy options to take out of this one, because there are just so many different things and so many updates that we do need to take into account. So it might be that Gen G have been the masterminds because it's been their creative solutions that's impressed us over the last couple of weeks.
Juve's been on a hot streak, so Juve
right
versus Khan sounds like it could be a hype top lane. Smiles around the Rift here, or around Lol Park. The Griffin Cheerfuls can finally be held higher than half-mast after a series.
And to be honest, I feel like this victory ramped up. I felt like game number 2 was better. Griffin did show that they were actually able to have that communication on point where things can turn on a dime and they can win themselves a team fight. It was against an opposition that were floundering. However, this will serve as momentum moving into their next series. So really good for Griffin fans after that victory against KT and taking some revenge against the team that denied them the summer victory in 2018.
It's definitely not the Griffin victory that they wanted, but it's the 2-0 scoreline that they needed. It's a needed win for Griffin, but if you remember back to our casting in spring season where a 2-0 for Griffin was the absolute minimum, a decisive 2-0.
Yeah.
We didn't get a decisive 2-0 here, but we got a 2-0 that was largely not in doubt. So it's an approximation of what they're working towards, and it's all about looking forward because we ain't got too many series left for all these teams. I think some of our teams only have 6 best-of-3s, maybe less than that, left in the season. So we're rolling on. It's that business end of the season, and it's also the summer season. So only 3 teams go to Worlds, and I don't think today's Griffin is ready to audition for that spot just yet.
And of course, Griffin wants to have as many options, as many ways to get to Worlds as possible, because we know that is a difficulty for them. A lot of the time, checking out some of these highlights here, and some of them were certainly in the hands of KT. In the early stages, that top side, I mean, Kingin showed how the on-hit cannon's supposed to work, but Lahan showed that if you press all your buttons and land them, Ezreal's die.
Yeah, Prey was definitely not able to pull off the Prey Ezreal that we've shouted from the rafters so many times over his 7-year-plus career. Looking over the plays here, this was the most meaningful one. Quite late in the game, a nice outplay by BDD. But just because BDD got out didn't mean that he didn't condemn Snowflower to death, and thus further members when Doran pulled off the really good angle to get into the backline. What is an on-hit cannon to do for the water that was spilt by his mid laner BDD? So while BDD gets out scot-free, KT can't say the same.
Yep. Weren't too many options there as this was a decent play as well from Griffin, getting themselves all in position at the right time. But this just felt like another day in the office one more time. I mean, after that initial lead was gathered, it just looked like Griffin were the better players on the day.
And it looked like KT were playing catch-up at almost all points of both games outside of some good
Clinging
play
to relevance.
at the start of Game 2. Listening on the comms here, predictably, with Griffin going to be very muted.
Maybe a little bit louder now that Doran is in the roster.
I'm not hearing them at the moment, but let's see if there's some excitement for his first match win. Nope, they are very much solid here. Any emotion being shown?
There we go. No, hands let out a woo.
And Tarzan actually showed more emotion than his top laner. So congratulations to Doran on his first match victory.
And congratulations to Viper for doing a hell of a lot of damage this game as well. As you can see, there was a lot of time to talk about basically nothing throughout the majority of this game.
Much ado about nothing, right? Was the Game 2 victory, but
and it's our learnings as well. I mean, you've spoken about this already, and the fact that we just don't get to take away too much. Like, what is the power level of Griffin? I mean, obviously today, KT did not look like the team that was able to clutch it against the Afrika Freaks.
Well, I mean, they kind of did, because Afrika Freaks wasn't fantastic on that day. So
yeah.
KT played a little bit worse, but it wasn't like KT was worlds worse. Going to hand over the MVP to Lehans. 005, 400 MVP points, trying to challenge Life as the highest point scorer from the support role in the MVP.
Also charging up that KDA as well, which is where Life also has an advantage. Had some brilliant plays. I mean, I like Chovy's drive-by here. Package delivery into the Valkyrie over the wall and allowing Griffin to really control things. The attempted kill steal, a large reason why that MVP was awarded. So if you had have actually achieved the kill steal, then that would have been points removed from MVP availability.
And you know what we can't remove?
What's that?
A chance to ask some questions to the Griffin players about their recent losses.
Yeah, it's the bottom lane as well, so let's throw it to Ji-sun for some translation.
Thank you very much, guys. This is Ji-sun in the translation, and we'll be hearing from the bot laners of Griffin, Viper, and Lehans. So glad to see you guys on stage, Viper. How do you feel about the win? It's a bit awkward to be up here, you know. However, I think we did a great job today. During the losing streak, you guys must have gone back to the drawing board. So what was the focal point of the feedback? Well, to put it simple, you know, we had too much mistakes and our performance was not good. So I think that was the main thing of our feedback. Game number 1, Griffin took Nami. So, Lian, since you are here, I want to ask you about Nami here. Well, we had a lot of options open, and Nami was one of it, and we thought that it's going to be quite viable, so we kind of locked it in. So Viper, Nami is not a mainstream champion in the current meta, so how was playing with Nami in bot lane? I think it's got a lot better than its first try. I guess Lian is always improving. And Griffin did a great team fight on the Dragon Pit, so let's go through a highlight together. So what was going on over there, Viper? So I didn't know what was happening. I just like backed up, but I think all my teammates were doing a great fight, so I just used my ultimate and I got the kill. So, moving on to game number 2, again, the bot laners were doing a lot of work. However, Doran was having a hard time in top lane, so did you feel extra pressure? Well, I mean, Doran was struggling a little bit, so we did our best in bot lane. I will win for you. 그리핀이 또 승기를 붙였던 한마디 하고 싶은 Viper, would you like to add on to that? No, I'm good, thank you. 네, 그리핀이 또 승기를 붙였던 장면이 있었죠. We have another highlight here where Griffin gained a huge momentum. 이때 라이즈를 먼저 쫓고 계셨어요. So you guys are at first chasing Ryze. What was exactly going on? Yeah, we were going in for Ryze, but we saw Snowflower walking over there, you know, so we thought that's gonna be another delicious prey to take down, so we just went in for him.
자, 조금 전에 도란 선수 얘기도 하셨는데.
So you mentioned Doran earlier. So he's an amateur. He used to be an amateur player. So would you like to promote him for the fans, like his play style? Like, would you like to introduce him briefly for the fans?
제가 아직 도란 선수에 대해서 아직 완벽하게 알지
Well, I
못하지만
don't know him
자기 입으로는 세상에서
well
제일
that
잘한다고
much,
하는데
but he always says that he's the best
네.
player in the world.
그랬으면 좋겠습니다.
Well, so that's my hope.
네.
Fighting.
도란 선수 계속 힘내시길 바라겠고요. 바이퍼 선수 계속 웃음을
Piper,
짓고 있는데
I see you keep
예.
어떤 얘기
smiling.
하시고 싶은지
So,
궁금해요.
is there any
민수
comment
선수에게
you would like to add?
싶은 말씀 있나요?
아니요 그냥
Nothing,
럭스
nothing.
잘해서 받았네요.
I mean, he did such a great
오늘도
work on looks,
완벽한
so he
호흡
got the
보여주신
MVP.
바텀 듀오였습니다. 자, 그리핀이 다시
So
연승
Griffin,
나가려면
Now you guys have to go for the winning streak, so you have to take that SK Telecom this Sunday.
지금 좀
Well,
많이 졌는데
currently
이제
we lost a
다시
lot,
중심
so
잡고 잘
we have
이겨보도록
to
하겠습니다.
just set it up and make sure to pick up victories again.
네, 남은 경기 다 이겨서
We're gonna win all the remaining matches and
좋은 경기도 많이 보여드리겠습니다.
also make sure to show great performance and exciting game for the fans.
네, 잘생겼다고 팬분이 말했던 것 같습니다.
When in the
정말
crowd
고생
also
많으셨고요.
shouted
승리
out,
축하드립니다.
Gwen so
고생하셨습니다.
handsome. So thank you very much for this interview, and this
Piper
will be
선수,
the end of the
린
interview
선수
with
함께했습니다.
Piper Lynch from Griffin. I'm gonna pass it back to our casters. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ji-sun. And I am too looking forward to some exciting games from Griffin. Ramp it up. Make them a little bit more exciting. Maybe like increase the pace by just a little bit, because that's one of the things that they certainly haven't been able to do so far this season.
But getting a victory, arresting a 0-3 series streak means they are still within touching distance of the big guns. No one is clear at the top yet. 9-3 Sandbox haven't looked particularly good in the last couple of weeks either. Damwon Gaming, the new hotness, but still with games to play. How do Damwon do when they're in touching distance with 5 series to play? We can't know. We're going to be learning about that as the season goes on. So Griffin 8-4, still very much entrenched in the playoffs run.
Pretty insane, though, that we've got Kingzone and Gen.G now tied when beginning of last week, or middle of last week, we had Kingzone at the top of the table. So just shows how incredibly competitive it is to get into our top 5, let alone that top 4. So very exciting moments here to be looking forward to. And with SKT on the rise, with Gen.G also wanting to challenge for that top spot, they can get to 9 wins here today.
Sure.
And that could challenge towards that top position.
We all have our suspicions about Gen.G, but they're in the best position to show them as a lie. If they can just win today, it'd be big for their season.
Absolutely. It could be 2017 World Championships all over again. They managed to do it then. Can they do it after a pretty considerable break, guys? We are, of course, 2-0 for Griffin in our first series, and that means that we're going to be waiting around. Maybe time for a TFT game, something like that.
45 minutes, so I think you're clear there, but come back in 45 minutes. We'll take you through what should be a really hype second match.
Absolutely. And is the hype going to be real for Gen.G? We'll find out in about an hour. See you later.